What it do, everybody? It's your boy King Crowder back again with another edition of History You Might Not Know, or History that you should be highlighted and taught. Today's lesson, we're going all the way down to Fort Muse, Florida. Did you know that Fort Muse, Florida was a freed fortress of blacks during the height of slavery and antebellum slavery? Did you know that Fort Muse, Florida was completely self-sufficient because the enslaved didn't all run to the north? History tells it they ran to the south to seek refuge and savior. This period of history is very greatly undertaught, but needs to be educated on. The reason why Fort Muse, Florida is such a huge and big deal is because this happened more than 250 years ago during the height and while enslaved individuals were going on. If you ask the average American, did they know that there were over seven to eight, roughly by estimation, freedom towns or freed lands during the height of antebellum slavery in the United States, specifically in Florida? Would they know that? They would not know that. This period is so unique because this was during the 1600s. People were leaving, always seeking refuges and freedom from the plantation lifestyle. And once they moved around and unified with each other, the native blacks of this land built and developed themselves. This Fort Muse, Florida was an underground railroad, and it was a fortress inside of colonial America. This period of time is when blacks that were literally getting caught and enslaved at this time wanted their freedom. Moving to Florida was a way that they could get freedom at this time. Over 100 black families relocated to Fort Muse, established, built, developed, cultivated, and made their town. They had landscapers, carpenter, skilled workers, cattlemen, boatmen, and farmers. The entire community was working self-sufficient. The British tried to attack some parts in Spanish Florida at this time, and Fort Muse were the main ones fighting the Brits off. Fort Muse had such a stronghold on defending and defeating those that tried to attack them. Fort Muse was the ones that helped the Spaniards at this time battle against making them come to a treaty because the British could not defeat them. Most people do not know that Fort Muse was so successful due to their warrior tactics. They used guerrilla warfare. They know how to eat off the land. They know how to build and maneuver their own weapons. British soldiers and the Europeans at the time were not used to facing people who were fast, just technically skilled, and savvy. Be mindful, these people were known to be martial artists, fighting experts, especially with close range with spears. These Fort Muse civilians were literally on another level. The British at this time knew that they could not survive this community and they could not starve them out. So what they did was they developed a treaty with the Spaniards to purchase Florida. Even though purchasing Florida granted them the lands, and they started to move south towards the land to get Florida a part of these new nations, people still had difficulty because the blacks were completely self-sufficient. They couldn't touch them. They couldn't maneuver with them. They couldn't modify what they were. It was so difficult to operate with them. The community lived in the heart where the Brits were, surrounded by them, and still held their own. Later on, you see that they became so much admiration and respect among that community. You began to see Fort Muse residents begin to assimilate and go to different parts of Florida, cultivating with the black struggle, what they did. Even to this day, Fort Muse is still active. This is one of the largest freestanding black communities that we can find going all the way back to the 15th century. How is this history not taught or discussed? This free black town sustained longevity, maintained, and thought its lifestyle through and through. I think understanding these principles are tremendous, and we all should be discussed in it. Breaking down this information will be a helpful snapshot on why there are no slave plantations in Florida, on why Florida history is so unique along with Oklahoma, and on why we see the native tongue, tone, and how they self-sufficiently took care of themselves, still being a part of that culture. King Crowder, my whole legacy and thought process is to educate you on that. I think it's extremely important to highlight these type of situation instances because they are very valid and important to success. All right, baby, it's your King Crowder. Checking back in. Thank you for tuning in. Comment, subscribe, like to the channel. I'm going to keep coming back to you with this heat every chance I get. Please think on this, educate yourself, read, and continue to follow the path to see more legacy moments like this. Peace.